What's up, guys? Welcome to another special episode of the FU podcast. You guys know that majority of this existence of the podcast has been some Greek Italian guy yakking into the bottom of his phone. About last year, I started to bring on some guests. I really enjoyed talking to people. I really enjoyed getting some different voices onto this podcast. And I started doing it last year, and I'm continuing doing roughly once a month. Don't hold me to that, but roughly once a month of having a guest on to talk about some great things that they're doing. As with joint ventures, pretty particular on who I bring on to the podcast. I want you to introduce you guys to people that are doing really good work. I've had Ari Weinswick on the podcast. I've had Mark O'Donnell from EOS on the podcast. I've had some really awesome guests, and today is going to be another doozy. We have Jay Croft on the line, the author, new author of a book called Selling Longevity, which we'll talk about today. But where I discovered him was on his podcast called the Optimal Aging Podcast. And if you are training people, majority of you guys that follow me are doing stuff with the 40 plus market. I think that we've all realized that college kids don't have a lot of money, so let's not train college kids. And you're
Right.
realizing that the guy that's 50 years old that's making a couple mil a year, he can afford training all day long. So let's figure out a way to get him into the gym. But I first heard Jay on his podcast. I think it was when I heard you do an episode with my friend Rick Mayo, who we have a common friend in, and it was a great episode. I listened to it, and then I started listening to other episodes. So, quick plug for Jay's podcast, the Optimal Aging Podcast. If you're looking for marketing ideas, and one of the things I love about Jay is he's a marketing guy and a writer too, marketing, mind and a writer. And he'll get into his background on journalism in a little bit. But yeah, doing some really good. So check out the Optimal Aging Podcast. In addition to, we'll give you the info and insight on his new book, Selling Longevity, which hit one of the bestseller lists, which
Yeah.
I'm very proud of for you, Jay. Good work. But Jay, thanks for coming on.
Vince, thanks for having me. And thanks for that kind introduction. I really appreciate it. And I had you on Optimal Aging about a year ago when your most recent book came out. And it was fantastic because we are talking to a lot of the same audience and pursuing a lot of the same goals. I appreciate the chance to come on and talk about all of this stuff. Don't wind me up too much because you might have a tough time getting me off to stop talking, but
Very
I'll do
good.
my
Let's
best to
let's
stay on
give
point.
let's give the audience a little background on you.
Yeah.
You don't have the typical entry into the fitness field as a gym owner, but
Right.
tell us what you've been doing and what led you to the point of what you're doing to write this book and have that podcast.
Absolutely. So my background was in communications, professional communications. I was primarily a newspaper journalist for many years. That's what I trained to do and wanted to do and did for about 20 years, rising through the ranks of daily mainstream newspapers in various cities across the country. And I concluded my career with 10 or 11 years here in Atlanta at the Journal Constitution. I was a hard news beat reporter, and then I was a features editor. So had a good mix of all of that. And then smartphones and the internet came along and pretty much destroyed the newspaper industry. So I stumbled out of that disaster in my 40s and fell into corporate communications at some giant multi-billion dollar corporations here in Atlanta and did not like it, did not succeed in it. Kind of cubicle farms, 9 to 5 office politics, all that stuff just didn't suit me. And so right around the time I turned 50, I thought I got to find a new way to make a living. What am I going to do? And long story short, that was around the same time that I noticed that the fitness industry was no longer interested in me. And it's difficult to say exactly what happened that opened my eyes to this. I don't remember what it was. I remember I was at the gym. I was on a piece
Well,
of
hold on,
cart.
when you say was no longer interested in you as a customer.
Correct.
Yeah, yeah, okay.
Yes. I had
Yeah.
just turned 50. I was at the gym that I've been going to for years. And I was looking at something, a trade publication or a mainstream magazine. I don't remember what. And all the marketing was just all about boys and girls too. And I don't mean younger men than me, 22-year-old boys who want huge biceps and six-pack abs. And that was it. And I thought, damn, you're missing out on something because I've been going to a gym my whole life. I'm very comfortable in a gym. If I go out of town, I find one. I spend money at gyms. I use a trainer. I buy supplements, all these things. And suddenly I'm invisible. And the thing that it reminded me of is when, if you're ever driving in a car with teenagers and they're singing along to the songs on the radio, and you have no idea what that song is or who the singer is, right? That's because you aged out of pop music. And I felt the same thing, that I had aged out of the marketing target for fitness. And so I thought, let me check this. I'm a reporter. I can find out if this is true or just my emotional reaction to something. And it's true. The industry is primarily historically focused on specifically people in their 20s who have no money and want no service and can will find a new gym in a heartbeat and go across town to the new gym, new club, whatever. And I thought, this just doesn't make sense. So I looked into it, did my due diligence, and found out that there was this opportunity for content marketing. And content marketing had really grabbed my attention during my corporate years in my time between being a journalist and getting into fitness. This idea of using my skills as a journalist to gather information and tell stories and communicate to masses of people, but for a different purpose. And that purpose with content marketing is to get consumers to buy a product or buy a service or engage in something. So I saw this as an opportunity to start a content marketing firm, company, interest, whatever you want to call it, that would help gyms reach more people like me, more people over 50 who have the time and the money and the desire to become good, long-term, high-paying customers. And since then, it's just grown. I'm servicing a lot of gyms all across the country. I've got some in Canada, some in some other countries, even where they speak English, at least, because I don't speak any other languages. And I create marketing content for email newsletters and Facebook and Instagram and blog posts, things like that people then use in their gyms and studios, then use in their marketing to tell their communities that they want to help people who are a little bit older. I'm not talking about geriatric care. I'm talking about 50-ish and over. Some people are saying 40 and over. It's roughly the same thing. And it's the idea is that you distinguish yourself in your community from all these other gyms by saying, hey, I can help you. I want to help you. And I want your money because you've got more of it than those kids do. So that's my background, how I got into this. And then I wrote the book because it was an outgrowth of all of this great information and fantastic stories that I've accumulated over the years.
It's very funny that this very concept that you kind of created of what market to go into is very similar to when I was working in San Diego. I was a trainer in San Diego and I was working with a lot of NFL players. And it was really cool to work with NFL players. And I was also working with high level college athletes and even the highest level high school athletes. And I found myself getting really excited about working with those people and not as excited about working with the mom and pop. And I realized after a while that one, there's not nearly as many professional athletes in high level college and high level high school athletes as there are these normal people.
Yeah,
And while it is more exciting and cool to be like working with Luis Castillo and Donnie Edwards and Quentin Jammer, who
sure.
actually anyone listening to this probably has no idea who those people are. I'm dating. I'm definitely dating myself with name dropping. Apologies to the pro athletes that I just mentioned, but at one point in time, these were household names in the
Sure.
NFL. But at the end of the day, that's what shaped my start in business when I moved back to New Jersey. I said, hey, you know what? Not going to focus on those guys. I had my fill. It was fun. It was cool. But I want to make some money in this career.
Yeah.
And I realized that the middle school athlete was the most uncharted
Yeah.
territory in all of sports performance. No one's even talking about these kids. And I built my entire business around that middle school athlete. It's the exact same thing. And then eventually came around to working with adults over
Yeah.
40 as your market is. But I think it comes from people wanting the cool and exciting client, right? They want to be like excited by the client. They want to get someone that's 10% body fat to 5% body fat, and that's more exciting. And they can use more of their knowledge to get to this next level. But a lot of times that's like the last 5% of people.
Sure.
So I think you're right on the money with creating a marketing niche for this market. And I think you're in a perfect spot right now because people are starting to see, they didn't see it when you first started doing it.
Hmm.
When I first started doing it, none of us saw it. But I think people are seeing the writing on the wall in the space. They're starting to
Yeah,
see that more people are going after this market for you. So I have a question. So I read through your
sure.
book and you did a great job. It's a great book.
Thanks.
It's simple, it's clear. My first question is about the psychographics part of it, because I learned from the great Dan Kennedy, there's three parts of marketing, right? There's the geographics, it's where they live, it's the demographics, it's the facts about them, and then it's the psychographics about the people age 50 plus. Can you go into that? Because I know that was a whole section of your book. The title of this chapter was Why Psychographics Matter. Why do psychographics matter in marketing for people age 50 plus?
Yeah. Well, again, I come at this from a slightly different angle. I come at it from the question of this is interesting. What's going on here? And what are the cliches and the stereotypes and the common misconceptions that are out there? And then how can I find out if they're real or not? And then that's what I set out to do. So maybe a more classically trained marketer would come at it from what are the psychographics behind this demographic? It's not how I came at it, but I just think it's fascinating to hear a young trainer, or not even a young one. I'm sorry, this happens a lot with veteran trainers and gym owners talk about how they want a D1 athlete. Yeah, D1 athletes don't need you, do they? Good luck with that, right? People who need you are the ones you should be going after. So you need to find out who needs me. And you were genius to realize that middle school athletes were there and needing your services. And it's the same thing. So you find out who's most likely to be a good customer for me. And then who are they? What makes them tick? What do they want? What are they afraid of? How can I find out? And people who are a little bit older, and I'm just going to say over 50. If anybody out there listening has decided to focus on people over 40 or people over 60 or women after menopause or men after retirement or whatever,
It's the same.
it's the
If you're
same
home
thing.
listening to this
Yeah,
and you're doing 40 plus, which a lot of people do,
same thing.
this is more than relevant to you because I
Yeah.
guarantee you're having people that are 50 and over
Yeah.
for sure.
Yeah, exactly. First of all, you got to think about what are your misconceptions about them. A lot of younger people in their 20s and 30s and maybe even their 40s think of over 50 as being ancient and being grandparent level and being previous generations of old. And I'm 61 years old and I guess I look at it, I don't really care. I've got gray hair and wrinkles and that's fine. But I know that when I walk into a gym that I've never been in before, the kid behind the counter doesn't see me. He sees right through me because he just sees an old guy and thinks that guy is not someone I'm interested in. He doesn't know how much money I have in my pocket or how much I want to spend at his gym. He doesn't know what drives me to come into a gym. So, what drives people who are a little bit older to get in shape or stay in shape? I discovered that there are some really common motivators. They want to play with their grandkids and feel safe and confident doing that. And they want to be able to get up off the floor and climb up the slide with them and all those things. They want to be able to travel, and traveling, just getting on an airplane can be exhausting. You got to schlep your bags through the airport and put the bag in the overhead compartment and stand in line and do all these things, let alone something more challenging like hiking or skiing. They want to stay in good health. We have a lot of chronic ailments that are commonly associated with being a little bit older. They want to keep their weight in check, all these things. And yeah, maybe they want to look better, but it's not the same thing of I want to look hot at the gym, hot at the beach.
I do think though they want to look better.
Absolutely.
I think that there's a misconception here, Jay, with this market and people saying, oh, the 50 plus here don't care about losing weight. They
Yeah,
don't care about how they look. I think that's total bullshit.
I
I
agree.
think whether that's you're 50, you're 60, you still 100% care about. It's not the only thing you care about, which is what the only thing you care about when you're 22 is how you look.
Right.
That's it.
That's what I mean. Yeah, that's it. So yeah, of course, but you're going to have fewer people come in and say, "Hey, dude, give me some guns." The guy's still going to be really happy when his biceps start coming through. Absolutely. It's just not the main primary or even solo motivator, but of course everybody wants to look better. We want to feel better and move better and all these basic motivators. We want to continue to play sports, play hockey, play golf, play tennis, work in the yard, garden, whatever, all these things that we like to do that you don't need the gym to do those things when you're 25 or 35. You do when you're 55 or 65 or older. You really need guys like you to help stay strong and have the agility and the stamina to do the things that you like to do with confidence and some degree of proficiency.
It's
So the
funny.
other thing about
I just climbed Pikes Peak
oh great.
with my buddy Joe, and there's another guy that went with us named Mark. And Mark, so I'm 46, and it's hard for me to fathom that like I'm 4 years away from the people that we're talking about here.
Yeah.
I will say this, one of the caveats is like the best compliment I've ever gotten was one from my daughter that said to me, Dad, I'm so glad you're in really good shape because if you weren't in good shape, I probably wouldn't be in good shape either.
Man, that's
Right. It was like the best thing ever. And again, I'm not like I'm fine. I'm doing okay and
yeah.
I still work really hard and everything like that. But like to be recognized as setting the good example in your
Yeah.
family, like for me, that was like a marketing line, right? Like your kid complimenting you for staying fit. But what I was saying was we went on this Pikes Peak climb, and it's a 24-mile total climb. It's 12 miles up, 12 miles down, and it's like 13,000 feet of elevation at the top. It's pretty tough climb. But the guy that did it with us, Mark, was 57, and he hung the entire time, and he was fine. He's a marathon runner, Ironman, and stuff like that. But I remember saying to him, I was like, my goal is to do this at 57, just like you. And that was like a big thing. And I think that I know a driver for me is as I get older to be able to try to do things that I used to be able to do when I was younger. And again, I'm
Yeah.
never going to be able to bench as much as like I was when I was in college or anything like that. That's fine. But these types of challenges like hiking and other things
Mhm.
like that, as you get older, there's these like types of whether it's an obstacle, whether it's a race or something like that, you can very well stay fit for a really long time while doing that stuff.
Yeah.
I know that was a
Absolutely.
big motivator for me was seeing Mark at 57 do that.
That's great. Yeah,
Yeah.
and I've got people in my life who are even older than that because I'm older than your friend, and I can do that. I could climb Pikes Peak tomorrow. At least I think I could. It's been a few years since I've been there, but I think I could. And I've got an older sister who runs Ironman triathlons, as does her sister, her friend who's in her 70s. They live in Alaska. They play on a hockey team. These are just ordinary people out there living their lives. And there's a lot of them out there who are very comfortable doing all of these things. There's even more who are not comfortable. We've talked about some about the folks who know their way around a gym, but the vast majority of people in this demographic are like the vast majority of all Americans, totally deconditioned, overweight, out of shape, and scared to death to walk into a gym. So those are some other motivators. But you look at this, the reasons why this demographic is so appealing to people listening to this show, in addition to all the things that I've just said, is they've got the money, they've got the drive, they've
Yeah.
got the
Hmm.
ambition, the idea that some 25-year-old woman comes into your gym and says, help me lose 20 pounds so I can go to my sorority reunion. You can do that. Any trainer in the world can do that. Big deal. And then she's never going to come back after her reunion. And, that she's out the door. You help a 55-year-old, 70-year-old retired accountant who's 40 pounds overweight and gets winded to check the mail. You help her go skiing with her grandkids. You help her take her toddler granddaughter to the park and go up the slide with her and come down the slide with her. You're going to change her life and she will be with you forever. She will never leave you because you have given her life back.
The biggest joy of my week is walking through the gym and seeing my 86-year-old high school football coach training at my gym. It
Yeah.
is it is like he's like a family member. And it's like walking through and seeing him working out is just, it's incredible. So I love this market. I have a question for you
Sure.
on the mind of the 50-year-old, or let's just go 60 since that is you. And that's what I love
Sure.
about you is I've had to really study the market through talking to customers and clients and getting in their mind and hearing the things they say and using the things they say in marketing. you're a little different in that you are the person. Like
Yes.
you are walking around as the buyer. What are the things that are going through a 60 or 50 to 60-year-old's mind when they get to the point when they're like, I need to do something about my health? What are the things? What's the negative thoughts? What's the thoughts?
Yeah.
What's the head trash going on in their mind that gets them to make that decision?
The thing that gets them to make the decision is almost always, and we're talking about the people who are not doing it. We're not
Yeah,
talking about the,
just you think
like, yeah,
prospects, think what they're
yeah, there's
not
a,
customers of
yeah,
gyms,
because
but
there's a
they get to a point
substantial,
where they realize I got to do
yeah,
something.
I think there's a catalyst in almost all the stories that I tell. It's the classic hero's journey structure. It really applies to this people who are, let's say, 55, 65 years old, right around retirement. Women have gone through menopause. Men are getting that tire around the middle, back aches, joint pain, whatever, right? And they just think, oh, I'm getting old. Getting old. They know in the back of my mind that they're not just getting old. They know that something's not quite right, but they keep putting it off because change is hard and it's intimidating to go into a gym. They haven't been to a gym since college 40 years ago. And they're afraid that they're going to walk in and be ignored or be treated with disrespect, or they're going to hurt themselves, or they're going to feel, for men, they're going to feel less in control. And maybe women are going to feel judged because they're overweight, what have you. All these things, man, it's really intimidating. I want everybody listening to this who's used to a gym to think about how scary it is for a deconditioned person of any age, but especially a deconditioned person who's as old as your parent, to walk into a gym. It's terrifying. So think about all that. And then what it takes to get them to do something is a moment, a catalyst. And that catalyst can be the doctor saying, Tom, you're going to have type 2 diabetes in about 6 months if you don't get off your ass and start doing something. Well, hopefully nobody wants type 2 diabetes. They can start reversing their life, that diagnosis, with some lifestyle choices. Maybe it's seriously the grandchild who won't play with Nana because Nana can't get off the floor, or because Nana smells like cigarettes, or because Nana gets tired and cranky whenever they want to play. That'll break your heart to have your grandchild say, I don't want to play with you. Or just any kind of thing where they are invited to do something and they can't do it. Could be a rafting trip, a hiking trip with the extended family on a reunion. I know one man who his catalyst was when he's still working. He's a very high powered executive, still in the game, trying to climb the ladder. And his boss said, hey, every year I take a group of people on an adventure. I'm taking you this year. We're going to climb Kilimanjaro. And he said, we're going to do what now? Climb Kilimanjaro. Are you kidding me? So he went to a gym and said, hey, this has come up. I've got to go because it's the boss and I'm not backing down from this challenge, but I can't climb the stairs, let alone Kilimanjaro. He got in shape for that. So there has to be some moment, a catalyst that makes you go, I got to make a change. It's not going to be your wife telling you need to lose weight. It's not going to be looking in the mirror and thinking, oh, hell, I'm getting fat again. It's going to be something that moves you in a way that all those previous warnings didn't, because you know you're overweight, you're deconditioned, you shouldn't be feeling this bad. But it takes something that's really emotional and powerful like that.
Yeah, and I love that. I have a series of copy that I use based on that exact concept because I think what they're after is this, they don't want to look embarrassed and they don't want
Right.
to feel stupid. And a lot of times those events tend to make that happen, and no one wants to stay that way. And so it's funny because I have a whole bullet point that I used in my big book of marketing that people have ripped off many times, and taking these exact bullets
Yeah.
and a recent scolding from your doctor,
Mm.
reunioning up, and all these things. And all of it is to be used as this catalyst to avoid further humiliation
Yes.
and
Yes.
embarrassment. And it's honestly, it's like weird to think like that, but it's what do they want? No one wants to feel that. No one wants to feel that. And so a lot of times in marketing, you tend to and can call some of these things out
Yeah.
to help people avoid that somewhat catastrophic thing that is there.
Yeah. I try to do that with an
It's way
emotional
worse than your
story.
pants not fitting. It's way worse than your pants not fitting. Yeah.
Yeah, because you can just shrug that off and say, oh, hell, I look all right, and move on. But when your doctor says you're type 2, you better get on that. Or you're the same age as when your mother fell and broke her hip and died a year later.
Yeah.
And all these things that when you're 30, they sound like they're never going to happen. And trust me, at 61, I can see them all happening right now.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's those stories, it's the emotional story that people connect to. And I guess that's what you and I try to help gym owners do, is get to those emotional stories that the audience connects with and says, hey, I'm like that guy. I'm not Chris Hemsworth. I'm not an athlete. I'm not some fitness model. I'm just a normal dude, and I'm happy being a normal dude, but I need to lose some weight. You
Yeah,
know?
that dovetails
Yeah.
nicely into the next thing I wanted to ask you about, because you have a whole chapter on it, on storytelling. And I think that obviously your background in journalism has probably made you a great storyteller to be able to, that's your whole life was doing that. But I think in the midst of what's going on with AI and all these things of how easy it is to create content, no one has an excuse anymore not to put out 5 ways to burn fat. And there's a place for that kind of stuff. But the more people are getting like numb to this AI, like this whole thing, like that, oh, that's AI. Oh, that's AI.
Yeah.
Like
You can
it's
spot it,
starting, right?
right?
You can
Yeah.
spot it, but it's really hard to pull out to pull to say an AI was generate a genuine story. And so
Yes.
I think, and especially too, like on video, if you can tell stories on video and in presentations, like I've made a living on showing up every Wednesday for 2 hours and talking to my group. I ain't throwing information at them for 2 hours and getting them to stay on the call. Like we have a pretty high stick rate too. They stay for the whole call. And it's just a series of stories, one after the other, and answering questions and using
Mhm.
stories to answer the questions and everything like that. And so if you were to, in the short amount of time that we have,
Yeah.
teach a gym owner how to be a better storyteller,
Yeah.
what would give us the pitch of what you would do?
Yeah. Sure. Happy. That's a great question. And I address that in the book. I give some tips on
Yeah.
how to tell stories better, and not just in an airy fairy I went to college kind of way, but in real simple terms. So let's think of perhaps the most common story that a gym owner is likely to use, and that's a member profile, like a member of the
Yeah.
month or something like that, which I hope everybody's doing. If you're not, you should be doing that, of course. I often see them done really badly, as I'm sure you do too. And they will be all about how great the gym is, all about how nice the trainer is, all about how pleasant the facility is, not a word about the client. Or they might have some questions, but you can tell that these questions were answered via email because there's never a follow up and there's never any sense of a conversation. You can see the email went out saying, what's your favorite part about Vince's gym? I love the trainers, period.
Yeah.
What's your favorite movie? Star Wars. What's your cheat meal? Pizza. It's like that. Who cares? Don't do it via email. Have a conversation with the person. Don't just throw out a bunch of questions. The best stuff comes in the follow up. It's like when a kid, you tell your kid she can't have ice cream and she says, why? And you say, because we're going to have dinner. And she says, why? And you say, because mommy made dinner. Why? Be that kid. Keep saying why. And you do this in your sales calls already when people come in and say they want to lose weight. And you say, tell me more about that. That's what you have to do in the profiles, is to get past the really boring, flat, generic answers and get to something that's real. So do them in person, ask follow-up questions, and really listen, and try to follow the format of before, during, and after. So before, what was your life like? Before, I was working 70 hours a week and raising 3 kids, and I got fat. And then the kids went to college and I finally retired, and now I want to live a better life. Okay. What got you into the gym? Doctor said I was on the verge of type 2. Okay. What's your life been since in the 6 months since you've been working out at Vince's gym? How's your life got better? Then you list those things. What do you want to do next? I want to go on vacation and climb Pikes Peak. That's a story. And Vince's gym is a secondary role in that story. It's not about how nice Vince is or how helpful the trainers are or how well lighted it is or any of that nonsense. It's about this person who life got out of control and you helped them get their life back. So keep the focus on person, not on you. I really don't care about you too much as the gym owner. I care about the person. What was their life before? What got them into your gym? And what's their life like now? And then have a real conversation and listen to them.
Yeah, no, that's great. I think that it boggles my mind how people don't look around at they're swimming in a sea of content every day in their gym. Like all they have to do is walk out on the floor. And I found the conversations that you're talking about having, those create the best headlines, right?
Yeah.
For if you're a marketer, like you should be listening to the things that you say and listening for the one thing that kind of pops out. That's the start of the whole
Yeah.
thing. And I remember I was talking to one client, he was telling me a story, and he came up to me and he's like, "Hey, it's my 60th birthday." And he's
Hey.
like, I was like, "Great." And he goes, "I feel better at 60 than I did at 50." And I like stopped and I was just like, "Holy shit, what had just happened there?" And I looked to just stop right there, and I stopped him from talking. I went over and got a piece of paper and I wrote that down.
Yep.
And I think it's important from a storytelling standpoint that we're paying attention to, because one of my biggest pet peeves on a testimonial is I see this big lump paragraph that nobody reads.
Yeah.
And what we need to do as gym owners that are telling good stories is pull out what is the best part of the story
Yeah.
and then make that a headline. And that's what people will read in a
Yeah.
testimonial story. They're going to read the headline, and if the headline gets them excited, they'll read the whole story. But I see a huge mistake of people putting these big lump paragraphs together and thinking someone's going to just read through that whole testimonial. You have to
Right.
pull out the thing. And I think what they need to pull out is exactly what you just said, is you pull out the part that says, before I was this, now I'm this. And that's the transformation
Yeah.
story. Yeah.
Give me a story. Don't just tell me how great your gym is. That first of all, it's not a story. Secondly, it's not about the client. And third of all, I don't care. I care about the woman who can finally play with her grandbaby. I don't care about how many certifications you have.
Can you talk about you as a journalism guy, one of the things that you probably had to do was create content even when you didn't want to create content, right?
Yeah, you bet.
Because you had the hardest thing in the world, which is called the deadline
Yeah.
with content. And I think a lot of us, we don't have deadlines, right? There's no publisher being like, "Hey, you gotta get your article in." I send a daily email and I'm my own publisher, right? I'm the one that decides if I send an email or not. And I think that takes a lot of discipline, and it took me a lot of time to get to that point. And I think obviously with AI, it's become a lot easier to do. But what are your helpful hints, tips for people that, hey, I just can't get consistent with content creation. I do it once in a while. I do it a little bit here and I do flurries of it. And then I go on a drought and don't do anything for 2 weeks. And then
Right.
what are as a journalism guy, what are your helpful hints to us that don't have someone holding us over our head to create content,
Mhm.
meaning nothing happens if we don't do it, but we know we should.
I think it's something that you have to treat like any other component of your business. I think too many gym owners and probably small business owners in all industries think it's a nice to have, or I'll do that when I feel like it, or when I have time, or when my niece is back from summer break from college. She likes to do that. No, it's a part of your business. Bake it into your business plan, assign it to someone, make it a part of their job, or book an hour a week on your calendar so that everyone knows that from 10 to 11 on Tuesdays, Vince is doing his content. Just like if Vince were having a team meeting or if Vince were doing sales calls or
Mm,
any other part of your job. If you don't take it seriously, then you're not going to do it. I get it. But there are things I don't like to do. I'm really bad at numbers and accounting and all that stuff. I have to do it. I do what I have to, and then I hire out for it. And not to plug myself here or any of us who do what I do, but hire someone. If you really can't make the time or develop the discipline to treat this like like making sure that there's toilet paper in the stalls and that the showers are clean, if you can't do that, then pay someone to do it. I pay someone to do my taxes every year because, like I said, I can't add, let alone keep up with changes to all my deductions. So I pay someone to do that. So you can outsource it, sure. But mainly, you've got to get your head around that it's not just cute, it's not just nice, and it's not just people who have time or I don't like Facebook. Well, I don't like Facebook either, Vince. I believe me, would love life without Facebook, but it's the life we live. It's the world we're in. So accept it and deal with it and just treat it like another responsibility because it really is.
You're a big email guy. Like, how often should gym owners be emailing their list?
I say at least twice a week. That's what I do for my clients who subscribe to Prime Fit content or some other clients that I have that I do specific work for their business. I do twice a week. Others in my line of work will tell you 3 times or every day. I have a little bit of trouble selling that much to not selling it to get the money, selling the idea, promoting the idea because people freak out at twice a week. But it's got to be at least twice a week because even once a week isn't enough. I think that we all get so much email and so much content and so many marketing messages all the time that once a week they might not see it. Everyone's busy. Everyone's not sitting there waiting for you to send them an email. They might not see it. They might not read it. They might forget it. They might be on vacation, what have you. So you need to be in front of them at least a couple of times a week, and you need to be giving them good, relevant, engaging information that's going to make them want to hear from you. The biggest objection I hear, aside from I don't have time to send email, which is, don't get me started on that one, but is I don't want to be a spammer. And the only answer to that is that don't send spam. Simple. Spam, it does not have to do with how much you email them. It has to do with what you email them. And if you email them crap every day, 3 times a day, then you're a spammer. If you email them useful, good information that's relevant to their lives that they're going to enjoy, then that's just good business. They asked to be on your email list. They wanted to hear from you. And if they change their mind, they can unsubscribe. So I think a lot of people just need to get over this assumption that I don't like to read email, so I'm not going to send email. Do you know what I mean? You're laughing. You
Oh
agree?
yeah, it's funny. There's if there's one thing I've done well in my group, it is help people understand that they're haters and the people that respond with all this screw you, take me off your list, you
Yeah.
suck, those types of
Yeah.
things that you get that you will get if you go frequently enough.
Yep.
We have now shifted because it used to be people would freak out when they got those emails and they would post the emails in the Facebook group and they would be like, what do I do here? I think I'm
Uh,
doing something wrong. I think I'm emailing my list too many times. The posts have shifted to them posting the emails in the group, screenshots of the emails, and them with this badge of honor saying, I'm finally doing email because I'm getting someone to hate me.
that's
Right. And I
right.
think it's a
Good.
total
I love it.
mindset, it's a total mindset shift, but it's like crazy what a few years has done with
Yeah.
just me harping into their head. It's just like Kennedy has a line. It's like you haven't pissed anyone off by noon, you're not marketing
Right.
hard enough.
Yeah.
So
I'm glad you said that. Do you have time for a quick
yeah.
story? I sent out an email for this gym just within the last couple of weeks and had a bunch of good stuff. And at the bottom, it had, I often will include an inspirational quote or something like that. That's just type on a plain background. And this time, instead, I copied something I saw on social media about the Coldplay concert where the guy was caught with his mistress.
No, I didn't hear about that.
Yeah, it's Coldplay. It's this band, it's a rock and roll band.
No, I never heard. No, I never
Never,
heard about the mistress thing.
oh, you seriously?
I'm totally joking.
Okay,
Everybody
guy,
knows
you
about
had
that.
me there. I thought you were joking, and then I thought, oh my
No,
gosh, is it possible he didn't hear
it
about this?
is. I've never seen that was bigger than when Trump got shot.
It was. And so
Yeah,
after 2 or 3 weeks
which
later,
is
I put this
stupid.
at the bottom of my email for this gym, just text on a plain background that said, if a CEO has time to run a company, raise 3 kids, and run around with a girlfriend and still get tickets to the Coldplay concert, then you have time to work out. Okay. I thought it was funny. I heard back from the gym owner because one person on his email list wrote him and said, I was just about to share your email with some friends because I think they would enjoy it and want to join your gym. But then I got to the bottom and I read that joke about Coldplay, and that was just cruel to his wife and children. You should do better. Okay.
What was he saying? What was his response?
He said that we would try to be more sensitive in the future. And I wanted to say, it's just a joke and it's not sexist. It's not demeaning. It's not hurtful. You can't please everyone. One person didn't like it. I don't know. What else can I say about that? But the thing that was lost in all of this was
Did
what
what did Jim Owner
she's
ask you to tone it back?
no, I just said I'm sorry I caused you some friction, is how I put it. And that's legit. I am sorry that someone didn't like it. But it's not like I'm out here telling jokes, sexist jokes or something. It's just anyway. So what he missed, and the point I want to make here, what you were saying, the woman said, I love this email and I was just about to share it with my friends because it's so good. Hello, that's the message. Your
Yeah,
marketing is working. She's going to send it to her friends because she likes it so much. Coldplay aside, was doing something right.
I love it. I love it. Yeah, no,
Yeah.
it builds up. I did a whole lesson on this at one of my most recent mastermind meetings called immunity to criticism,
Mm,
which I is a concept I learned from the great Dan Kennedy, who basically says if you're going to achieve any type of success in your life, you have to start. I don't know about becoming totally immune. I think that's really hard to be 100% completely immune. Like the Trump is the guy that's completely 100% immune to criticism. I have gotten myself to that point, not even close,
no.
but way better than I used to be. Like
Yeah.
way better. If I get an email with someone responding and says, Vince, you're an effing moron. Don't ever email me again. You're a piece of
Yeah.
crap. I laugh at it and I'll screenshot it and I'll use it in my next email. So it's so come a long way. But I think that's one of the things about, and we've gone on a little bit of a rabbit hole.
Yeah.
Our original question was how many days a week should you
Yeah.
email?
Oh, at least
And
twice.
and it's led to a way more important topic than that
Yeah.
because the frequency topic, while yeah, two, three, four, whatever it is, my one of my favorite lines is, "What are the best days to email your list?" And the answer being on the days that you want to get paid,
Yeah. Oh, I like
right?
that. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I subscribe. Not my gym's a 3 day week gym email list, but my the newsletter for this business is every day and never miss a day. But yeah, I think it led us to down a way more important point of
Yeah.
when you're going to create consistent content, you do open yourself up.
Yeah.
There's the fear of people not liking it. There's the when you do it more, there's the fear of people saying, "Why are you emailing me so much?" and all of that. And I think that's an important growth part lesson for people to be get through that.
Yeah, it is, and I don't want to give the idea that you shouldn't be sensitive to other to your audience's concerns. Obviously, I'm not going to send something that is blatantly offensive or off point. This one just surprised me because the Coldplay thing had been beat to death for 2 weeks. So how am I hurting anyone by anyway? Don't whatever. But there are things I'm not going to do. I deliberately, intentionally, always avoid controversy. I never talk about politics or a political figure or a political issue. No one cares what I think about or which TV network I watch or if I like Trump or don't like Trump. No one cares. And the most important thing about not going down those paths, and not just about politics, but about anything controversial, is because you lose control of the conversation. And instead of talking about fitness or your gym or your specials or how great your trainers are or whatever it is that you wanted to talk about, you're now talking about these other things that have nothing to do with your intention. So it is important to keep in your lane.
Yeah. Let's talk about becoming an authority. I know that is a chapter in the book. And it's interesting. One of the most downloaded podcasts that I've created is the title of the podcast was How to Get Famous in Your Community. And I'm like
Mm,
really surprised by that. I've had a lot of podcasts. I've been podcasting since 2018. And of all the once a week since 2018, and many times multiple podcasts in a week. And 7 years later, like that still is the number one downloaded
really?
podcast. Yes.
Oh, that's great.
How to get famous in your community.
Yeah.
And so you talk about becoming an authority in the book. Can you, and obviously storytelling is a big thing of doing
Yes.
it. Consistent content is another way to do it. But what did you describe in the book as the way that gym owners can become authorities? And let's link it to our specific population, right? Like, how do we become an authority for the 50-year-old market as you've done for yourself?
First of all, I'm going to listen to that podcast. Seriously, today I'm going to listen to that episode because that's really relevant to what we're talking about. Everybody wants to be, if not popular, then at least well known. I think with any specific audience, you have to learn about them. I've had gym owners tell me, I don't know anything about training old people. How am I supposed to know anything about that? And I said, can you learn? Can you take a certification through one of the training organizations? I think a lot of them have them now, and there's other organizations like Functional Aging Institute that have them, and you can learn how to train specifically for older people. You can express curiosity. You can open your eyes and your ears and your heart a little bit. But also, I think you need to connect the messaging and the content with community involvement in real life and with the customer experience so that everything is aligned to crank out clients who are your biggest ambassadors, people who maybe saw your Facebook ad and then got your email newsletter and then came in and or met you at a 5K because you were smart enough to have a table at the community fun run and then came in and had a great experience initially and repeatedly and got the results that they wanted. I think another thing is to engage with your community in a way that a lot of people don't want to do these days. They want to stay online and just do it all on Facebook. Engage traditional media. If that's your a small town newspaper, if that's a free weekly, if that's a Good Morning Austin kind of TV show, whatever it is, get yourself out there. Be a part of your community. Sponsor a little league team, whatever it is. But I think the main thing is to learn what the heck you're doing and then align a positive user experience with all your messaging so that people come away thinking, yeah, this guy really delivered and I'm going to tell people about it.
Yeah, I think it's also knowing the market too. I think about like what you're doing with becoming the guru for the 50 plus gym that wants to market to that business. You've really done a good job of knowing the market. And I know like for me, that was like I started at GFP and we started with middle school kids. We transferred to adults. We just knew the market really well and we
Mm-hmm.
said things that they wanted to hear. Same thing. I've now become an authority in the gym space. I knew the market, right? I spoke to the market. So I think that's one of the biggest things. And that's like marketing 101 is know your market.
Yeah.
But I guess picking a specific niche, right, to become an authority, it narrows down the things you need to do and the
Yes.
things you need to know. And so I think that's a really powerful piece of it is a lot of times people that go mainstream have a tough time becoming an authority because their market is so widespread,
Yeah. Yeah.
right?
They'll
It
sit
takes
you.
them forever to become the authority. So niching
Yeah.
down, which is exactly what you're talking about in the book.
Yeah. If you say to a new gym owner, who's your gym for? And he says, oh, it's for everybody. I said, no, it's not. First of all, it can't be. Secondly, it's not. So, thirdly, let's narrow that down a bit. Is it for everybody? Then you can name three or four groups right off the top of your head who it's probably not for. It's probably not for people with severe handicaps. It's probably not for the very, very old and infirm. It's probably not for D1 athletes. You can name a lot of people it's not for. That's so stop saying that. And then think about who is it for and how you choose your target audience can be you can come to it any number of ways. If you want to do it for who's got the most economic potential today and for the coming years, it's this demographic period.
Yeah, I'm gonna end with this. This has been an
Yeah.
awesome conversation, Jay. So I you're a new, I was reading through your bio and it talked about all your years in journalism and you're writing newspaper. Yeah. And
Yeah.
I want people to think about the old days of marketing, where even think pre-internet, where you had to put an article in a magazine or a newspaper, and they had to read that piece of content. They had to go to a website or a phone number and download something, or even before that too. It boggles my mind that this actually happened, that they
Yeah.
used to put these things in magazines called order forms.
Yes.
And
Oh my
people would
gosh.
take a
Yeah.
pen and they would
Sure.
fill out their credit card information
Yeah.
on the order form, put a stamp on it, and send it in the mail, and then wait for the thing to come.
Yeah.
It
Weeks. Wait weeks.
absolutely boggles my mind. That was a real thing. But I think about how good and how much better the internet has ruined it for us. Like, we don't have to be that,
Mm.
you have to be able to stand out more, right? There's so much
Yes.
more competition and everything like that for sure. So you have to be able to stand out. But at the end of the day, it's so much easier to get someone to reply to an email to
Yeah.
this. And a lot of that started with print. And I never considered myself a good marketer until I started really getting successful with newspaper ads.
Mm.
And in 2001, sorry, 2021, we relaunched Grit Sports Performance, our sports performance program. Solely went from zero to $25,000 a month in legitimately just newspaper ads.
Really? That's great.
Yes, because, and this question I'm going to get to, and it is very
Yeah.
self-serving, but because there was this local, I just moved into my new house, and there was this local newspaper that was probably like 8 pages, but it was like a black and white old school newspaper. And I'm looking through, I was like, do people actually read this thing? And
Yes,
I'm
they
looking
do.
through, I was like, there are ads in here. And I was like, I tried it and I tried marketing. I did a full page ad, big one, very direct response style, put a lot of
Hmm.
time into it, and it exploded. And then I did it again. And then I did it again. And then I did it for 4 years straight until we pretty much were selling the program out without them.
Great.
Your market is 50 plus.
Yeah.
Imagining 50 plus people still read publications that are print.
Yeah.
What is your best advice to someone that wants to possibly dabble in that game?
Yeah. The first bit of advice is maybe not over 50, but probably over 60 or 65. Because over 50 is too big to be a niche. So if you say,
Is it true though? I heard that over
yeah,
50
I
gets
think
the
it
yellow
is.
pages. Is that true?
Do they even make the yellow pages
Yes,
anymore?
they still make the yellow pages, but it
Come
only
on.
gets, yes, it only gets sent to a certain age group. I don't know if it was 50 or 60. I could be wrong. But I
Well,
believe if you're over 50 that you get the yellow pages or something like that.
huh. I'm not
Believe it or
familiar with
not.
that one. I don't know about that. I just think that,
You should look into that because that's a good one for your market.
yeah, it is. I think people in my demographic, whether it's 50 or 60 or whatever, generally read. If I were doing this for 20 somethings, I'd be on TikTok. I wouldn't be writing blog posts and email newsletters. So people want to read emails and they want to read what you put on social media and they want to read what you have on your website. Absolutely. So that's important. And as far as reading the newspaper, I would say this: those small newspapers that you're talking about are super important. I live in Atlanta. I don't know that the Atlanta Journal Constitution would be helpful for a neighborhood gym because the city is so big and the paper goes to people over many miles. And is it going to be effective for something that serves a neighborhood? I don't know. It was way back in the day. It was much more complicated than now. But the community newspapers that you might just see tossed on lawns or front porches and throw away because you think who's going to read this? People in this demographic do read them. And if you can advertise in them like you did, that's great. And if you can write a weekly column in them, about how to feel great after 50, how to kick ass in your retirement, whatever it is, editors of those kind of publications are going to be really open to that. And then you've got that byline and mugshot and tagline at the end of the column every week saying Vince Gabriel runs Vince's gym down on Main Street. Come in for 50% off tomorrow, whatever. That's spectacular exposure for you. I know 20-year-olds don't read it, but yeah, 60-year-olds do. Absolutely.
Awesome. Awesome. Very good. Yeah, I love the print stuff just because I think it really tests you as a marketer. And I'm not saying for everyone to run out and just start doing print. It does take time. Like even like direct mail, which I'm having much less success with direct mail than I have with print newspapers and magazines. But I think if you do find a local magazine in your area, like I'm not the only one that's done it. We've had many of our clients in us that have succeeded with local print stuff, but I think you're right. Like
Absolutely.
it's got to be a local rag, something that is like almost town specific. That's going to be really much get much more local eyeballs on it.
Yeah.
Jay, where can people go to get your book? Where are you at? Are you selling the book? Are you giving it away? Where are we at right now with the book launch?
You can get it for free on my website, which is primefitcontent.com. I think right now it's just a free PDF. I'm going to eventually change that to get a copy. But if you want to shoot me an email and give me your mailing address, I'll be happy to put one in the mail to you. My email is jayj at primefitcontent.com. And it's for sale on Amazon.com as well. It's called Selling Longevity. Over 50 Fitness Can Transform Lives and Your Business.
And then plug your podcast too, because I really like your podcast. It's the Optimal Aging podcast, right?
That's right. So the business Prime Fit Content is primarily about just getting how to get people into your gym. Optimal aging is a little broader than that, and I talk about things that are not so specifically about the gym and or even specifically about growing your business, but more like the things that you and I have been talking about for the last few minutes. Vince, so the ideas of marketing and communications and how do you reach them regarding all sorts of things related to fitness and health and well-being. So that's Optimal Aging. Once a week, you can get it wherever you get your podcasts, and you can watch it on YouTube. I just started doing video version about 6 months ago. People
Very
have told me to do it for years, and I finally did.
excellent.
Yeah.
Excellent. Jay, keep up the good work. Thank you for
Thank you.
coming on. I appreciate the insights and how genuine of a guy you are and how much you put into all the work and the content that you're putting out there. So definitely go get Jay's book, Selling Longevity. I have a copy here, right here, that I have read through and really loved it. Excellent job with the book and keep up the great work.
Thank you, Vince. Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.